We'd made it back recently from our first trip together fishing a new-to-us Ozarks Gem of a creek. After an experience as fun as that first trip, seeing and catching so many fish, we wondered if a return trip to that same creek would ever live up, if it would still deliver. Regardless of how the fishing would turn out, however, we couldn't help but feel that the scenery on this particular stream was spectacular. Sure, it was early in the season, and many of the trees weren't yet adorned in their full green glory, and the wildflowers weren't blooming on the riverbanks. But the water flowed clear, cool, and imbued with that pale limestone blue. Worried that our previous trip was a fluke, we steadily passed the weekdays at work and home while we waited for our next opportunity to drive west. Trips to this creek were never meant to be about numbers, but to find whatever is out there, experience it fully with a fellow traveler, and connect more with these fish, fresh air, and rustly leaves. This curvy spring creek ultimately makes her way to the famed Missouri River. On our previous outing, we fished a cold day downstream of the primary access point, where just last summer my girlfriend and I camped and fished together. Much like me, ever since Frank first parted the riverbank trees here and had taken in the color of the flowing water, he'd felt enamored. Those fish we encountered, tiny rainbow trout, their jewel-colored backs, tipped white fins, and sides like red road flares. We felt them tugging us back to their stream. If you know anything about rainbow trout in the spring creeks of Missouri, you're aware they're not that big, generally. A series of rolling hills shapes flat sections of creek, punctuated by ultra-shallow riffles, where fish often are only 6 to 10 inches long. We felt our 3-weight rods were the perfect tools for stalking them, and plus, Frank's was nearly brand new. Some say that 3-weights should be fiberglass, reminiscent of the old days, before graphite took the stage. Others would say that Euro nymphing isn't fly fishing, and the once great tradition of fly fishing is gone with the coming age. We weren't sure about any of that, but Frank's ripe 3-weight was indeed graphite, and mine was a super long Euro nymphing outfit. One thing was certain: we were ready to find some fish. we arrived at the parking area, the long walk down to the creek warmed us for our day. The last time we came, we'd fished downstream. We didn't know much better, but that's another story. Armed with soft tackles, high-vis dries, and lightweight nymphs, we soaked our waders in the cold water and plied the seams for our quarry. Much to our dismay, a day that started as foggy and cozy became ultra-clear and high pressure as we stepped foot in the water. The weather was not favorable for small, spooky fish, and neither was the water clarity. The day started slow, and we feared that what we had held up so highly in our minds recently would indeed now be letting us down. The fish thankfully started to feed on swung soft tackles and bouncing, poorly placed dries, racing across the currents and attacking them with their tiny silver bodies. It didn't take long before we'd forgotten about our earlier worries and came across a few fish. Like any good day of fishing, it wasn't long before we'd hit our first roadblock. Frank and I found some fish feeding on the surface above a downed log, and in his first few casting attempts, he had gotten his flies stuck on something beneath the surface. Now in a precarious situation, but determined not to blow our chance at catching one of the risers, Frank offered that I take my shot. We hoped I wouldn't end up tangled with him, with his line extended just downstream of the rising fish. Our case for this stream's greatness revived. We were eager to continue wading around the next bend. Soon, the water began to take on a noticeably different form from the wide, shallow riffles below. There were deeper, slower pools, and rushing, tall, rocked riffles. 90% of this stream was so gin clear that the fish were spooked easily. Like John Muir sitting in the Yosemite Valley, we'd often set down streamside and simply wait for the fish to forget about our presence. One section in particular was rushing hard. A typical suspended nymph under an indicator would be no match for these varied currents through the water column. If there's such a thing as a big rainbow paradise on this stream, we'd found it. A long, shallow, broken up section of water dropping off into deep turquoise, with an overhanging tree limb for cover and good measure. It wasn't long before my line was tight with what was easily the largest wild rainbow trout either of us had ever seen come out of a stream this size.
Yeah, real good fish. Just gonna slide them in here. Oop, don't have enough distance. Oh man. You alright, buddy? He's getting there.
Having spent the last several years fishing streams across North Georgia and here in the Ozarks where a 10-inch fish is admirable by anyone's definition, the fish I held in my hands was a giant. Sage green sides with dark spots and opal blue and pink flanks reveal the trout's God-given beauty. As strong as the river itself, this gem was truly something to behold.
I feel like we need a high five.
Congrats. That was awesome.
That was sick.
Oh wow. I'll run back again. Ripple too. I mean,
Yeah, this is fast.
Yeah.
All these bugs coming out. This is so sick. People everywhere. And we're thriving. We're thriving.
If we'd taken to heart one thing from this trip west to the edge of the forest, it was that the Ozarks still has places as beautiful and special as anywhere. All one has to do is grab a friend or a dog and you're three-way. Oh, and anyone who says that there are only tiny fish here has clearly never tangled with one like this.